what's up, guys? It is 12 a.m. I know it's super late, but I have just no idea what else to do. I just keep hearing noises, and they're just getting louder and louder. It's the third night in a row of these noises, and they just started happening ever since I checked out these 3 books from the library. And yeah, I just need people to know. I just need to record this just in case something happens. And there's this light that's just popping out from the closet downstairs, and I don't know what it is. Hey, what's up? Welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. I'm JB. I read books, talk about books, and I would make the worst decisions if I was in a horror movie. And today I'll be sharing my thoughts on 3 different modern horror books. These are all books that I meant to read during the month of October, but you know, life gets busy, and now it's December, but better late than never, I guess. And so let's jump into the first book. And the first book is A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. And I'll start by saying this is easily my favorite book of the 3. It's basically a modern day, self-aware take on the Exorcist film. And so this story follows Mary, who looks back on her childhood during a time when her teenage sister starts to show signs of something. Is it a mental illness, or is it a demonic possession? So after putting Marjorie on meds, the family starts to struggle financially, and her condition doesn't get any better. So in a desperate attempt, her father seeks the help of a local Catholic priest. And then the priest thinks she's possessed, and she is the perfect candidate for an exorcism. And then their story gets picked up for a reality TV show called The Possessed, and a crew moves in and starts filming their day-to-day life, and it just disrupts their entire way of living. So just imagine The Exorcist meets Paranormal Activity meets Keeping Up with the Barretts. Now, I really like this book. This is my first Tremblay book, and I'm immediately a fan. And as a side note, I just learned this week that he's a high school math teacher, and I'm a teacher too. So now this guy is basically my hero. And just a great book. It's not super scary. There are some parts that are a little bit creepy, and it just creates a slow sense of urgency as we watch Marjorie's behavior become more and more unpredictable as the book goes on. But there's also some dark humor in there, at least to me. Like, I don't know if I was supposed to laugh, but I found the girl's dialogue to be darkly funny. She kind of has that teenage sarcasm, and she's out there just roasting the priest during the exorcism. And you kind of question if she's joking, and I kind of think that it makes that even more unsettling. And so for the creepiest moments for me, I think were when her and her sister were just sitting together in each other's rooms, just sharing story. And then all of a sudden, Marjorie threatens her younger sister that she's going to rip her tongue out and that she's going to die. And then she has the whole voice change thing, kind of like Regan does in The Exorcism. And that's not the only reference to that film. You also have the pee in the hallway scene, the projectile vomiting. So I think if you're a fan of horror film, you're definitely going to be a fan of this book. There's tons of references and allusions throughout. There are nods to the Yellow Wallpaper, Paranormal Activity, we have the Blair Witch Project, and even some of the character names are direct nods to other horror authors. One character is named after Stephen Graham Jones, which I thought was kind of cool. And then there's also a blog in this book as well, and the writer of that blog also references all sorts of other horror films and criticisms of the TV show that they're watching. And so yeah, definitely check this book out. It's going to make you question everything, like question if the possession was real or if it was not. It's also, you're going to question the reliability of stories. You're just going to question and feel all sorts of types of way about the family, the media, the church, and then the ending, which I thought was absolutely perfect. I think most people will enjoy it. And I'm going to go ahead and read more of Paul's books. He has another book called Horror Movie that I want to check out. And then I'll watch some more horror movies because that's basically my personality now. Okay, next up is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. Now, I picked this book up at the local library based on the cover and the title alone. I mean, it has a super cool Minecraft looking house there, the bold font that's super chunky, and it's kind of giving horror comedy vibes. Now, I haven't read any of his other books before, but his covers just all look incredible. We have his My Best Friend's Exorcism that has that 80s retro look. You have Horror Store that kind of looks like an IKEA catalog. Now, I'm not a big horror reader, but if I see these books on the shelves, they grab my attention. And so kudos to him and his design team for doing something right. And so onto the book. This story is about Louise, and it follows her and her estranged brother, Mark, who have to come together to sell their childhood home after their parents unexpectedly pass. And I'll start by saying I didn't like either of these characters for like the first 100 pages. Mark is immature, he's kind of annoying. Louise is like one of those judgy family members that thinks she's better than everyone because she graduated from college. But after getting to know them throughout the book, I think I, like many other readers, just really related to the sibling rivalry. And it made the book feel just that much more real. And so Luis is the kid who did everything right, and Mark is sort of like that mama's boy who in Luis's eyes did everything wrong. And so we have two people who have different memories of a shared past. And I think this was my favorite aspect of this book. It just made me think a lot about unresolved emotions and what we run away from. It kind of made me think about how people confront family trauma. And I just did not expect to be feeling all of these emotions after reading this book. I mean, from this comedy, I didn't expect to cry, but I was close to shedding a tear at the end. The ending I thought was beautiful. The last line of the book was just like, I love that last sentence. And I'm glad I did, because this book is 400 pages. A little bit long. I think it could have been about 50 pages shorter. There is some bizarre narrative shifts in here that go a little bit into Mark's past, and I was just not a fan of that. But I did like the horror throughout this book. And once that gets going, you have like skulls getting smashed with hammers, you have eyeballs getting poked with needles, you have blood just spraying all over the place. And the violence can get to some pretty gnarly levels, but I think there is still like a campy tone here that kind of keeps things light and fun. And so if you're looking for a book that's a crossover between like Chucky and Slappy from Goosebumps, and then you mix in some family trauma and some like heart to it, go and pick this book up. Okay, the last book on this list is Gus Moreno's This Thing Between Us, and I think this is one of the trippiest books I think I've ever read. And it opens at a funeral where the main character, Thiago, is mourning the loss of his wife, Vera, who died in this like tragic train station accident. And the whole first section of this book, I think, is just devastatingly beautiful. It's written in the second person, so it kind of makes you feel like you're experiencing this grief with Thiago. He talks to Vera like she's still there. He recalls the first time that they met, their early dates together, the music they used to listen to at their apartment together. And then later, he's just sitting home alone. He looks at their fridge and he sees coupons from their favorite pizza place, her yoga schedule, their photo booth strips, the magnets. And it just reminded me so much of my fridge and some of the aspects of my relationship with my wife. And I think that's why this book just hits so deep. I think the whole first section of this book just beautifully illustrates this stage of grief and how losing someone also means losing some version of yourself. So I was just all in on these first 100 pages. Like I was flipping through those pages. And then after that, it just kind of flips into this cosmic tech horror book. We get this backstory of this off-brand Amazon Alexa called the Itza that haunts the couple at their apartment. It plays eerie music at random times of the night. And I think that just started to establish the creepy atmosphere. But then after that, the book kind of goes into a whole bunch of other directions. There's this whole Stephen King style thing that goes Pet Sematary meets Cujo. And I love the ideas, but I think it just went in too many places. And personally, I also did not enjoy the last 100 pages. It was just kind of confusing for me. And after I looked online, we have a lot of readers who I read shared similar feelings as well. And so I think the writing talent is super obvious. I love the voice that Gus Moreno brings to his book. And so I'm definitely interested in reading what he comes out with next. I think this was his debut novel. But this one just didn't hit the landing with me, but I still think it's worth a read. I mean, check it out for yourself. I think it's trippy, it's gory, it's chaotic, it's gonna stab you in the heart, and then it's gonna kind of melt your brain a little bit. And that wraps up my month of reading some modern horror novels. It was a good mix of horror, humor, heart, and I definitely want to explore more of this genre. It's not a genre that I read a lot of, but I feel like my interest has been growing over the past few years, in big part because of all the films that I've been watching recently. I think horror is sort of being treated more like an art, at least in the film medium. I'm not sure about the book space, but stuff like Parasite, Hereditary, Substance, Together, Sinners, the Jordan Peele stuff, it just all feels a lot more elevated and psychological. And so please send me more recommendations in the comments. I want to read more horror outside of the month of October, but I'm still completely new to this genre. I think I've only read like 5 horror novels my entire life. And so I'm not even sure where to go next or what authors to look out for. And so thank you in advance for any recommendations. Thank you for checking this video out. Please like and subscribe if you want to hear more about what I'm reading or get some more recommendations. And I'll see you on the next one.